How you doing, guys? Welcome to my 62 C10 project truck. If you haven't seen the videos before, I got 104 videos. This will be 105, I believe, maybe even 106. I lost track. I've been working on this truck for almost 3 years now. Bought it as a quick project to have it on the road and be enjoying it at local shows in a few months. That was 3 years ago, and I've been working on it a lot. It's not that I haven't worked on it, but now we're going to take it from patina to painted. The local shows no longer allow patina vehicles. I don't know why. Doesn't make any sense to me. Some people are spending $25,000 to have a patina paint job put on their show vehicles. In any event, we're gonna paint it. I want to be able to go to the local shows. No patinas allowed. I got to put a paint job on it. We're starting some body work. I got the passenger side door off. Taking care of some tin canning with some heat. Using a pry bar on the back, a little bit of heat, stop it so it doesn't bounce. So it doesn't bounce anymore. So if you want to see what we're doing, or if you've been following along and you want to see more, stay tuned. Now, as ugly as this skin might look, if you saw it before, I got here this morning, I took the door off, I released the seam all the way around so that I can get the buckles. This was buckled in almost an inch in the middle, and don't get me wrong, it's still plenty wavy, but I'm trying to keep my Bondo to a minimum. You know, a quarter of an inch or so is good for me. Any more than that, I'll use some Gorilla Hair or the Fiberglass Bondo. I got to get my seams a little bit flattened out in some spots, touching that up. Once I get that done, I got some epoxy primer I'm going to lay on it, and then we can start some body work. The door's really pretty solid. I hand sanded all around the window frame. I used my stripper discs to take the paint and rust off. If you guys saw this door earlier, it looked like the hood. So I stripped all this off. What I'm going to do before I lay any primer on it is take some of my rust treatment stuff. Got to find out where I put it. I'm just going to wipe down the areas that look like they had a little rust. A lot of this is red oxide primer, but where the rust is that I sanded down is here. So even though it looks like it's gone, all these little imperfections and pinholes, there's going to be some rust living in there, and we want to kill it. Rust murderer, that's what I am. I got a little bit of a dent here still, but I got it to stop tin canning by heating it up. It's a little bit of a low spot. I'm just going to fill that. This isn't something that's going to rival something Chip Foose would build, or Ray Shellen or any of those guys. We're just going to make it shiny. And not very shiny either. I'm going to use a single stage enamel, probably some form of burgundy, and the cream color is going to stay. We'll two-tone it a little bit, have some fun with it, and let's get started. I'm going to get that chemical on a rag and wipe it down. Not a shop rag, by the way. I'll use my lint-free towels. This stuff is originally green, but sitting in the sun and things like that, it messes with the dye, but the product still works. You could spray it. If you have very rusty metal, put it in a spray bottle and spray it on, but this is mostly all gone. I'm just getting that last 1 or 2% of the rust that was there before. Should be good. I'm going to let that set up a little bit, and then I'll wash it off with some wax and grease remover. I gotta say, this is a whole roll of lint-free towels. They're a little lighter than the ones that you get in kits for waxing cars and stuff, but a whole roll of them for $9 and change at Home Depot. Couldn't pass it up. A little bit of wax and grease remover. You can tell this can's been around for a while. Another product that'll continue to work. All it is a mild solvent. Won't strip off paint, but it strips off skin oils and things like that. Anything on the surface of the paint. It won't dig into the paint and clean things that are in the paint. It'll only clean things that are on the paint. Wipe this door down. It's going to happen real fast. This is Rust-Oleum brand. Some people like it, some people don't, but it's what I have available in epoxy paint. This is epoxy, bare metal protection, twice the protection of paint and regular primer alone. So to me that means it's epoxy primer. It doesn't say it anywhere in the can, but the other ones say sanding primer, etching primer, urethane primer. This doesn't say anything except for direct to metal preparation primer. So I'm using it as epoxy primer, so I don't have bare metal, and I don't want to have to set up my spray gun and everything at this stage just to do one door. So this will work good. And you put the body filler work on top of this. You don't do all your body filler on the bare metal and then put this on, because this isn't porous. It doesn't let moisture seep through it. Body filler's porous. Moisture can seep through it. So the theory is, if the Bondo's on the metal directly, then condensation and dampness can get soaked into the Bondo and cause rust underneath it between the metal and the body filler. So that's why you always put primer down before you do your body work. Well, you don't have to, but you should. It's a good rule of thumb. Ooh, there's some dents and dings. Now we're going to hit the wiper cowl. Always wear your PPE. I don't have a face shield. These are polycarbonate lenses, but I would normally put a face shield on, but I'm spinning this slow with a drill just to get in those little shallows in the wiper cowl. The paint stripper discs, when you have the worn out one like I used to strip the door, it takes the old paint out of these little channels. They're a real bear to get clean, but I hate the way it looks when you look at someone's car and you can see the layers of paint underneath because they weren't stripped all the way down. So it's tedious, but I sit there with a piece of sandpaper and just kind of whittle away at them till you get all the old paint off. Definitely the problem with this, it was like 5 layers of paint, a little bit of rust in the corners. So I have to treat this with the rust chemical, and got a little bit more sanding to do still. I got most of it though. You see like these little hanger lag pieces there. You definitely don't want them showing through in the finished paint. And like I said, I'm not looking for perfection, but everybody's got their own little list of things that bother them, their little peeves. And one of mine is wiper cowls, and sand scratches and glass is the other one. So we're going to try to avoid both of those. Get this cleaned up a little at a time. It's also something I have a bad habit of doing, but it makes it take longer, is skipping. I like look around and see what I can see, and I keep going back and forth. You're probably better off just doing one slot, getting it clean, another one, getting it clean. These are about 90% done. I got a little touch-up work to do. Everything's turned black. Gave it some time to set up. Now, wipe it down. We're gonna get this primed today too. Keep in mind too, this is just prep. I'm not painting it, I'm just prepping it to do the primer so that we can start body work. What does Kevin at Paintjob say? You have to make the paint happy. Now, this is not body work. This is preparing the panel for body work. You can see I let the paint dry for a good hour, and my fingerprints still got on where I lifted the door over onto the truck. What I did to get my alignment marks right, I used a Sharpie and wrote a Sharpie line down the hinge and the door, and on the top I knew that my gap was a little too big here, so I moved it a little bit further in, and that should help. I got to put the little door stop on there. I needed to move it so I could use that bench. I don't want to paint everything. I just paint that one part. We'll be moving to the next part of the video. I do have a fan trying to blow any paint vapors away, but why take the risk? I need a new paint mask. Now I only spent about 40 minutes sanding it. It's not perfect, but there are a couple little spots I missed. This is what I'm talking about right here. You can see that. See a little here, a little one there and there. There's a couple in the back corner here. So we'll touch it up and we'll hit it again. It's got to be right. All right, another round of sanding, another round of primer. It looks way better. It's at least 99%, which that's good. That's what we're shooting for. Almost all the way. I'm tired. We're gonna pick this video up. It'll be another day. Now we got that right side cowl panel. I think I'm gonna fix this too while I'm at it. Stripped all the paint off because the paint was flaking and peeling. It was like almost an 1/8 inch of paint on the thing. And then I treated it with the metal prep, just like I did on all the other parts. See how it turned everything black? Even these little dots. There was paint here. I stripped it off and there was rust under it, so I'm glad I stripped it off. I'm afraid I might end up taking this whole truck all the way down. I'm not going to take the fender off or anything, but I'll try to get to this edge nice and then just sand this by hand. Run some tape here and blast a little overspray paint on there with this masked off when we get to that part. But we're a ways away from that. I'm going to try to get those 2 end panels done next. They're easy to take off, 4 bolts. Prettiest thing you've ever seen, isn't it? It gets covered by an antenna. I just welded a washer in there so it would be structurally sound and don't have to worry about it kind of ripping this apart once it's painted and everything. It's going to be solid there where the antenna is. I got a little rubber whip that goes on it. So this is all treated, ready to go. I'm going to wipe it down, wax and grease remover, throw some primer on it, grab the other one off there. Something's happening. Have to sand that back down. I don't know if something spilled on it from up here. No big deal. It's not paint, it's just prep. Look at this one. This is why I end up taking these all the way down, and there's some of this on the truck all over the place. That's why I was saying I hope I don't have to completely strip it. It's nasty though. If I want the paint to stay on more than a half a year or a year, I might have to strip most of this truck down. A lot of it, luckily, has already been stripped, except for some of these edges here, which are no big deal. This actually looks like it has some of the thickest paint on the truck. You can see where I welded this too. Let me get my face shield and start grinding this down. Alright, now we strip the fender down, and you can see where this is kind of curved in here, so I'm just kind of going to tug that out a little bit and get it a little straighter. When I did all that, it was a rat rod truck, it didn't matter, right? So I sanded it all with the DA, and then everywhere you see black was rust, so I went over it with my rust grinder pads, got that all pretty clean, wiped it down just like the other panels, wiped it down with my rust treatment, see how it turned black. Anywhere it didn't turn black is primer. There's red primer on it too. So, and there's some small dents and stuff in here, but this fender is going to be way quicker and easier than the door. You can see that door is pretty nasty, but it's fixable. It's not that bad. I think the deepest we'll get body filler is that back portion, about 1/4 of an inch. And off we go. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit real quick, and then we'll throw some primer in this panel. We'll move on to the other fender. I think we're going to do, maybe I'll just do the front end. Keep going in a circle. Why mess with the rhythm? Now keep in mind, I'm not worried about overspray over here because I got to sand all this stuff too. So I'm only masking stuff as I go around. I'll mask stuff where I don't want to have to sand it. I mentioned earlier, so we don't have bare metal. This is not the bodywork part, as I mentioned earlier also. This will keep it from rusting. We'll do our bodywork on top of it. Uh-oh. Now I'm moving on to one of the more complicated parts of the truck. Next I'm going to strip all this out here. Got my bumper off. I got new chrome bumper bolts going. But what makes me a little sad extra is there's a little rust. There's a little rust. There's a little rust. So I gotta decide, do I want to replace it or fix it? I think I'm gonna fix it, because it is hidden by the bumper anyway, so I don't even have to do it perfect, but I'll just do it halfway decent, cut the metal out, weld in some pieces with a 90-degree bend. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. But the big deal, to really sand this all perfectly, you gotta disassemble this whole front end. The bolts go in from the back, if you can see that in there. So I'm probably just gonna get in there with some 80 grit and get any flaking paint off of there, and it'll be fine. This is, you know, the stuff you can see, obviously I'll put a lot more effort into. Stuff you can't, I'll just scuff it for adhesion, and we'll continue moving on. I hate when I see cars that are painted and the radiator and everything behind it is body color. So I will have some masking. Now, if I need to move the truck, I won't run it long enough to make the fan come on, that's all. The digger right deep, the deeper it gets, or something like that. This piece is not looking very happy, but we're gonna see what we can do. I gotta break all this loose paint off of here. It's pretty tragic how bad it is. One of the things I found that I really do not like is there's a hole here, and they've really gone out of their way to lay some Bondo on this, so I'm wondering if this is all rusted. I'm gonna have to grind all that off and look underneath. I might just, looking at this stuff here, it motivates me not to properly fix this and just to fiberglass. I got that fiberglass body filler, and this also bends down under here too. So it's really taken away my enthusiasm to weld new metal on there, because this has to bend in the shape of a U. It's basically almost impossible to do. I'd have to cut it on this seam and have a 90 from here down, and then if I have to replace something above, also replace that separate from the piece that goes under. So I'm thinking about it, we'll see. I may just rust treat it all with a spray bottle and some of that concrete prep, the OSFO. I'll just spray bottle it and rust treat it really good, slap some fiberglass putty in there. All these little speckles of rust, and this is the big one. So kind of takes away your enthusiasm, and we weren't doing show truck level stuff anyway, so we'll see. These letters all had like 6 layers of paint in them, so you could barely see them. So I'm going to go through the extra effort of cleaning all this layered paint out of here, so the letters look nice and crispy when it's repainted. That's one of my little pet peeves. I hate when all the details are washed away from a lot of paint. It's a little tedious, but I'm sitting here with a wire brush and a pocket screwdriver. As I wire brush the layers away, the pocket screwdriver gets the corners, and I touch it up with the wire brush all the way down. 3 more to go. Oh my goodness, it's rusted through in the E. Do Bodywork in my letter E. That'll be a first. Goodness gracious. I'm getting there. That might get the same fiberglass treatment. I'll just push some fiberglass in there with my finger, sand it a little bit. Same thing with all these. That's definitely looking like a very good possibility of how it's going to happen. We'll just patch it up. I'm not even sure what this panel costs. This panel and this panel are 2 separate pieces. So if I want to replace it because of that, this is probably $400. This is probably $400 or $500. That's not going to happen. I've already put twice in this truck what it's worth, only based on my determination to win. Truck's winning so far. Once the sandpaper makes you work way more than you should, new paper. JB Weld Fiberglass short strand filler. Did all the rust treatment. Rust treated the frame parts too, just to slow that down. I'm putting the fiberglass anywhere there was some rust. I'm not gonna weld all that stuff. The thing needs too much work. Like I said earlier, this panel is different from this panel. It's two separate ones. And this one had some big dents. I've been chunking body filler out of it. And wherever it was kind of thick, I'm putting the fiberglass, and then I'll get the fiberglass just reasonably smooth. You want to scuff it after it's nice and hard, and then put your next layer of actual regular body filler on for a smoother finish. But this stuff's way stronger, and supposedly it doesn't absorb moisture like regular body filler does. So this stuff is better. You can put it directly on the metal, a little better than regular body filler. I'm gonna spray this with some epoxy primer too, just so it's not bare metal for when I come back to work on it again, probably Sunday. But first I want to sand this and get it relatively smooth, and then we'll be pretty good, I think, for this part of the video. We're going to carry on though. I'm going to put all this footage into one video. It'll be like probably 4 or 5 days worth of work altogether, although I'm only working on a few hours or an hour some days, and some days even more. Little cheese grater dealio, just knocks off the really aggressive high spots. Saves on sandpaper because it takes the glaze off. If there's a glaze on the surface of the filler, it will fill your sandpaper really quick. So this helps with all that. Tell you what, it's not going to let you make it wavy either. I'm not wearing a respirator, but I'm also not using a sander. This is big chunks. Still got to be careful with it though. It is fiberglass. As soon as that sander comes out, you have to wear a respirator with this stuff. Even more so than regular body filler. You should always wear one. The fiberglass in your lungs is not good. This is all still really low, but I'm just trying to keep the filler at a shallower depth than what some of these dents were. This is also kicked in a little here too. I'm going to see how much that bothers me when we get close. It's not much. It's maybe 1/8 of an inch. Alright guys, it's another day on this project truck. It's another rainy day. I happen to have my rowing shirt on in case it rains a lot, or continuously I should say. It's raining pretty good right now. Probably not the best day to do body work, but the epoxy primer is a little bit more forgiving than urethanes and etching primers are when it comes to the rain and wet weather. But I still don't have it out in the actual weather, but it might get a little damp. Anyway, we're going to continue. There's more to come on this video. Like I said too, this is going to be 4 or 5 days put into one video. Try to get it to about 30-45 minutes maybe. Try to keep it interesting too. Today we're going to try to do a little sanding on this fiberglass stuff. Strip this driver's side fender down since the weather is not going to come in here too much. This fender is actually in pretty good shape. The patch panel I put on, I just have to work on the seam where I welded it with a hammer and dolly just a little. The skim of Bondo, and that fender's in pretty good shape. So let's get to it. This piece is pretty bad. I'm going to fix it instead of buying a new one. So I bent that up. Sorry about the rain in the background. It's coming down pretty heavy. I've been waiting like an hour for it to calm down, but I'll have some sketchy audio for a few shots. But I'm going to weld that on there and then finish cutting this off after this little tiny piece is welded on. It does end right here on the good piece. And then the other side has a crack over here I got to weld. And that'll be done for the welding on the front end at least. See how this fits. Should be pretty close. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just add a little more clearance right there. There's another hole hidden under that. It's gonna get painted the red color that the outside of the truck's gonna be, and this is gonna be the cream color from here down. And I think the bumper I'm going to do cream too. You guys tell me if you think red bumpers or cream bumpers. Maybe I should pony up for the chrome bumpers. Well, speaking of which, I got some cowl panels. CJ Pony Parts put the screws to me pretty good on these things. The original ones are pretty rusted. They go on the ends of the wiper cowl. I ordered them for CJ Pony Parts. They said they were on sale, made a big deal about it. I ordered them. They said, well, the left one's no longer available, sorry. And then they billed me for the one and shipped it out. and I told them, cancel, cancel, cancel. I don't want it. I told three or four different ways. I told them to cancel it. Because the left one's the real reason I was buying them. I'll show you. Oh, the tires fell over. That's a bummer. It's got rust here. Got rust here. Rust here. And I've already patched that corner, this corner, patched that corner. So they're pretty rough. And that one is got a couple little pinholes, but nowhere near as bad. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna treat myself. It's about 6 hours worth of work to fix that. And they got them on sale. Long story short, they sent me the right one instead of canceling it. And then they told me I have to pay to ship it back. So that's CJP. If you want to buy from them, that's up to you, but I'm no longer gonna. This company is Golden Star Auto Parts out of Texas. They had them for the same exact price with tax and everything. Is about 200 bucks. Brand new ones, ready to go. This is the passenger side, got the antenna hole. The driver's side, you have to drill holes for the emblems. I am going to put the emblems back on, so I'm going to match the holes to the original ones. And I don't have to do anything except drill those 2 holes, scuff it with Scotch Brite or 220 or so, spray them with epoxy primer, and then I'll lay them in place while I do the rest of the body work. When I'm getting ready to paint, I'll pull them off, paint them off the truck. Once everything dries, put them back on. That's the plan. I got this big old crack welded up, and no, I did not weld it over the garbage can full of oily rags. Bad idea. Have a fire extinguisher nearby either way, but definitely don't weld over that. I just figured someone was already typing. But I welded this from the back side and cleaned up the roughness a little bit. No one's gonna see that part. The part I'm concerned about is the top. Good penetration, came through the weld a little bit. I'll be able to fill that with a tiny bit of body filler if I want. We'll figure that out later on. This gets covered by a bolt, but this was cracked really bad, and I always just left it because it was a rat rod. Now it's going to be pretty. I'm going to sand on these a little bit more, get a good coat of primer on them, move on to the next step. I'll also I started rust treating the bumper a little bit from the inside, so that stuff will turn black a little bit. Just don't want it to continue rusting. I'm not worried about making it perfect on the inside. We'll stop the rust. We'll address the outside, throw some paint on that too. Now, as soon as I start seeing little bits of metal popping through, I stop. A light skim of Bondo afterwards, but I'm actually going to do fiberglass on the metal where it needs it. Epoxy primer. Epoxy primer cures a few days, and then we can put body filler on top of it to smooth anything out that I see. This is covered by the bumper, so we're not going to get too crazy. I just don't want to leave holes there. It'll bother me knowing they're there.
Wipe this all down, wax and grease remover a couple times, make sure most of that dust is out of there.
Yeah, I said most. I gotta keep reminding myself it's not a show truck. I'm trying not to get where I have 400 or 500 hours in bodywork and paint. My goal is to do about 100 hours or less and have it painted. So far I've got about 12 hours, so it's taking a little longer than it should, but I figure if I set a goal at 100, I might keep it under 150. Because you try to make things a little too nice in the little area you're on, because that's what you should be doing, focusing on one area at a time. if you think about the whole project at the same time, your brain starts to melt. So at the same time, if you get to where you're spending hours and hours getting scratches out of the panel way back here, you probably should stop. Unless you go into the Riddler or something like that. Or not SEMA, because SEMA, this truck could go right now. That's a bummer. I did paint a lot of things with that one can. I got more. That's going to need a little bit of body filler. Let's get the holes drilled in these, get them sanded and primed. A little test fit before we do any major work to them. Looks like it hits the fender down here. It is aftermarket, it's not a factory part. Pretty close though, it looks like. I think we'll be a little bit of tweaking here and there. You gotta use fender spacers, fender shims. Or alignment shims, whatever you want to call them, to align the body. Just like an old car gets a wheel alignment, that's what the body panels get aligned with. So I think we're pretty close. A little tweaking here and there, and they'll fit good. Trying to make sure before I start drilling them. I got to do a little clearancing right here. Drill 2 holes, scuff them up, we can prime them. This doesn't look like E-coat on the outside. Looks like E-coat on the inside, but not on the outside for some reason. Make some measurements and transfer these 2 holes over to here. It's 1.5 inches up from the seam, 3 inches back, 2 3/8, and exactly 1 inch. Should be pretty easy. I really like this drill set I got at Harbor Freight, step drill set. $17.99 for the small one, and this is the small one, and then there's a large one that goes up like 1 inch. What else we can double check our measurements by going like this. Five and 5/16, 5 1/4. So it's off about a 16th. Could be the panel slightly shorter, slightly different length. 10 and 9/16, 10 and 5/8. So this panel is a 1/16 of an inch narrower. So I'm going to hold the hole a little more accurately. I'm going to move this hole out a 1/16. So, because I'm more worried about the hole than the distance from each end. They're staggered slightly, and the emblems are pretty big. So the biggest thing for me is with the emblem straight, and that measurement seems to be pretty good. One more check. 1 inch. 1.5. 1.5. 1 inch. The seam's not quite as sharp on this one as is on this, I'm noticing too. Main thing, it's not rusty. It's about a 5/16 hole, maybe 1/4 inch. This bit also leaves a little chamfer on the edge. I like that a lot. I think we'll be good. Got some 240 right here. Fold it in half. Skin grips it better than the smooth side. I'm not worried about using a block yet, because if this has a little ding or bad wave that I need to fix, that's going to come when I do the high build urethane and block sand it. Then we'll put some guide coat on it. That's when I got to worry about how flat it is. Now for the prep. And the reason I'm sanding this at all is to give the primer something to bite to. And I don't strip the E-coat off. A lot of people do. Some claim that they find rust underneath it, but maybe if it sat outside for years. I've never found rust underneath the E-coat, so I stopped stripping it off when I found out that it's one of the best rust preventative coatings you can get. I'm like, why take it off? It's good. I'm gonna wipe it down with wax and grease remover, throw some primer on it, and I'll prep the next one. And then we'll be moving on. One of the hardest things about doing paint and body work in a repair shop, everything's greasy. And you don't want to get overspray all over everybody else's equipment and things like that, even your own. So it's a little complicated to try to find a spot to do this kind of work. But I try to be as neat as I can, clean up after myself, and not get paint and overspray on other people's property, even my own as well. Pieces of cardboard come in super handy for masking and for making work areas, temporary work areas. It's another problem is you set everything up, you do your work for the day, and you take everything back down. So some of your time goes into preparation. Get all the fingerprints and any like dust that was on there. Primer sticks better when there's no dust. People think it'll melt into the dust and all, and it will to some degree. But the cleaner it is, the better the adhesion is going to be. One of the things when you're painting a vehicle, if you want to do a decent job, you're going to need way more masking tape than you think, and way more wax and grease remover than you think. Because you wipe it down before you start sanding, because you don't want to sand grease and wax into what you're doing. So you wipe it down first. You do all your sanding and your body work, and you wipe it down every time you're going to prime. You wipe it down every time you're going to paint. You're constantly wiping it down. You always have to pull the masking off because dust gets trapped under the masking. You got to pull the masking off, wipe everything down, remask it for the next stage. Just if you want a clean job and you don't want a lot of dust and dirt, which I'm going to be painting this truck outside, so it is what it is, but I'm still going to try to make it as clean and neat as possible. And we'll have to fix some. The biggest problem around here is bugs, more so than dust. Like right now, it's love bug season. They're just starting up, but we're not going to have the body work done before that season's over, so we'll be alright. We'll paint the inside first. I see people putting these things on Sawzalls with adapters and all kinds of crazy stuff. Have you guys had a lot of a problem with that? I'd shake it for a minute or two. It always works for me. I think it's a competition to make things as complicated as possible. Oops, I got my respirator mask with me up. Flip it over and paint the really important side. That's just for, since I am going to paint these off the vehicle, I'm going to put whatever body color it's going to be on the back side, and then mount them on the vehicle. And then when I paint everything, it'll be painted together. So that's the plan right now. Keep in mind now that epoxy primer, it stays kind of tacky for a day or two. It'll dry on the surface pretty quick, but you don't want to start sanding on it or putting body work on it until it's sat at least 3 to 5 days is the rule. I usually wait 5 days. Some guys say 3, but I find that if you'll know if you're doing it too soon. If you're on that trying to sand and work with it too soon, it'll clog your sandpaper right up. But once it's hard, it's epoxy primer. It's basically epoxy. When it's hard, it's hard. You can sand it and it doesn't peel off, and it doesn't clog your sandpaper nearly as much. So there are all kinds of different epoxy primers even to make it more complicated, but let that set up a little bit. We'll find something else to do. Got those welded. That needs more sanding, but not too worried about it yet. Probably can start working on this a little bit, some filler. I've got filler, and I've got my urethane primer too, but I'm not going to bring them out until I get most of this truck in epoxy. Maybe next thing we'll do is strip this fender off. This hole was stripped, so I went to a larger size. I'm not installing those panels today, so I don't want the hardware to get lost. They're probably going to need different spacers than this, but we'll see. Now I'm going to do like I did on the other fender. I'm going to hit this with the DA first, but you can see this has a lot of surface rust, almost the whole fender. Alright, so I'm going to sand it with the DA first, and then whatever the DA doesn't take down and start to get a little shiny, the end result I want is a shiny looking metal that's been sanded lightly with most of the rust gone. It's going to have a tiny little bit in the pores, and that's when the metal treatment comes in. A lot of stuff going on. It's a well-oiled machine, man. Rust is pretty deep. I'm gonna have to definitely get the grinder. The grinding wheels that are made to strip rust. That's going to be the next phase of the operation. I want to make sure that paint's going to stick. Getting a little worn. You having fun yet? See how it starts fizzing up? It loves killing rust, man. It's such a bully. That fizz is the rust going, no! I'll give you my lunch money. Leave me alone, you bully. Now I got pretty calloused hands. I smashed myself with the DA and the thumb right here. Didn't hurt. You should wear gloves when you're doing this stuff, guys. I'm bad about that. It's hot and muggy, and I'm old, and I've been doing this so long now. It's too late for me. Save yourself. Wear some gloves while you're doing it. And actually, I could put my mask on too. Won't be able to talk to you, but I'm gonna let this sit on here about 10-15 minutes. Then I'm gonna wipe it down, let it set up really good. And once I know all my rust is dead and I don't see any more red spots, the reason I stripped this whole fender is because every bit of paint I took off, there was rust under all the way. So I ended up stripping the whole fender. That's what I'm afraid might happen on a lot of these panels, but the hood's going to be next, I think, after this fender's done. Once I get the hood and the driver's door done, then the cab's all done, so it's not so bad. It takes a little patience. I can smell this stuff a little bit, so I'm going to put this mask on. We'll come back in a little bit. For you, it'd only be a second. Got my cowl panels loosely fitted on here. You can see there's a lot of room for adjustment, so if you can do all kinds of crazy stuff moving these things around. Get them to fit wherever you want, basically, with shims and tightening. That's why the holes have a lot of play to it. I'm basically wanting this line and this line to look the best, and I can move the door a little bit. You want it to kind of end up with the fender. I got the other side together. The door is going to need to come out a little bit, it looks like, but it's pretty close. Should be pretty good. Door's got to come out a little this way. So we got some adjustments. So looks like I got a little spot here I'm gonna have to weld up before I start putting any fiberglass or body putty on it or anything like that stuff. Got a couple little dings. This is the worst one. I hammered it out a little bit actually. It's still there. This is a high spot and this is a low. I don't know if you can see it. You can tell by the shadow probably. But I got a lot done today. All right, we'll be back another day, same video. The hood is pretty bad, so I sprayed it down before I even ground it and wiped down on a primer wherever the stuff might have dripped a little bit. I sprayed it pretty light. I didn't get too crazy. I just want to get this stuff digging into the rust before I even try to grind it. I started filling some of the dings and dents that a little too deep for Bondo. The one dent here, I hammered it out a little bit with my pick hammer, my body hammer. Got it close, put a little bit of glass in there. You can see it's not fixed. I'm just reducing the amount of body filler. This stuff I use for strength and moisture and corrosion resistance, and the filler I use for the finish. So pretty good dent here. There was a pretty good dent there, and I actually got some of it out, but I couldn't get it perfectly flat. I am certainly no Carter's Auto Restyling or Cowl from Make It Custom would get that stuff perfect. It wouldn't even need any body filler, but I'm just not that good at it and don't want to spend that kind of time on it. I want to make the truck look good. That's all. You guys know. I'm shooting for 80% of what someone would consider perfect. Which is just a pretty good level. Hey, that looks pretty good. That's what I'm shooting for. When we come back, I'll be grinding on that hood. The rust treatment I sprayed on it last night, I left it on. I normally would wipe it off. I left it on to see how much it can do, and it's bubbling up some of this old paint, and you can see the rust is actually turning white and black. And obviously it's going to need a little more here, but I'm not going to spray it again until I strip it with the sanding tools and get most of the old rust off. I just it was an exercise in I don't know, not futility, because it did something. I think it's going to strip down easier now. It's definitely killing the rust. Also, the bumper is bent pretty bad, so I got it sitting under the lift with all the weight of the lift on it. Try to get the kink out of this side. That's actually the driver's side where a lot of this damage is. I mean, anything this old, I mean, this thing's older than me, so you know it's old. It's been through some stuff, and the damage that's here and here was also in the bumper, and this is loose, which I'm not going to tighten it till it goes back together. I'm gonna put some effort into straightening this bumper. I might just, if you guys have been watching my project truck videos for a while, I have mentioned putting chrome bumpers on it. I might just splurge. That'll blow the budget out. I'm trying to keep it under $750 by the time I get it done, but I'm already pushing $500. I haven't bought the paint yet. So painting the car is expensive, and that's doing it yourself. And people wonder why it's expensive to pay someone to paint your car for you. All the labor I'll have in this and materials, if I keep it under $750, maybe $1,000, the labor at just say $100 an hour, I'm probably going to have 100 hours in it by the time I'm done, at least 80 hours. So what's that? $8,000 plus materials. It's a $10,000 paint job, and it's not even going to be perfect. Something to consider when it comes to getting your car painted and trying to do it yourself, the pros and cons of each. All right, we're going at the hood pretty good now. I treated it, I think I showed that earlier, and then I sanded it, and now I'm treating it again, and I'm going to sand it one more time, but I'm going to use a DA, try to take some of these little patches out. I basically want the whole thing to at least look like that. You want to take all this out of there until it looks at least that good. I'm still taking this side down. You can see where I sanded it the first time. I haven't finished sanding this. I sanded and retreated that. Once I get this done, it's going to be, I'm going to have to really get in these little holes. They must have used a drilled holes and put screws and a slide hammer to pull some of the dent out, which isn't a big deal. I'll probably skim it with fiberglass, sand that smooth, and a body filler for the finished result. A couple little dings, but the hood's actually in pretty good shape. Got a little bit of a low here and a little bit of tin canning up here, but I'm not worried about that really. Some of the rust treatment stuff is like a black primer under everything. and wherever that rust treatment stuff goes on, the black primer gets really soft. So we're going to definitely have to hit this with the DA with the 80 on it. But we're getting there. A little bit of body work here too. Just the fiberglass portion. I'm going to go to Bondo now. Kind of started straightening this out. By the way, you got to have the correct thinner for epoxy primer to clean your gun. So now I got acetone in there trying to keep it from hardening while I get the right thinner. Probably ruined my gun. That's not going to help the budget. Got it primed just in time. It started drizzling. I got it done about 15 minutes ago. It looks wet because the epoxy is pretty heavy. I sprayed it with that gun with a 1.8 tip. And it's a little choppy. You can see I had a little too much air pressure, and maybe the material was too... I should have reduced it slightly. But it's just so that it's not bare metal. And now I can work on putting the fiberglass over the really rough spots and getting it fixed up. So far so good. It looks like it's wet, but it's not. It's just shiny. This is a great primer too for sealer. When you get all the body work done, you put a little reducer in there, spray it with, it's got to be the right reducer for epoxy apparently too, because the reducers I have don't thin the epoxy. I tried to use some to clean the gun. That's how I'm learning. I've never used epoxy primer before. I normally use urethanes, but I know this is going to take me a while, and it might be out in the weather, and epoxy is a lot more weather resistant like paint than regular urethane primers. A little absorbs moisture a little bit, so I don't want to clean all this rust and have it rust again. That would be terrible. This is dried really good now. We got a little texture, but we're going to block sand all that. I'm going to put high build primer over it once the Bondo work is done. Like you can see some of these dents. I got to take down a high spot right here with the body hammer. A little bit of filler. Perfect. It's in pretty good shape, honestly. You can see where someone's replaced this panel under here, and the weld goes all the way across here. They missed a couple spots of weld. That's not rust. That's just little tiny bits they missed. So I have to decide, do I want to try to weld that up, or do I want to... I'll probably put some fiberglass in it, honestly, at this point. Like I keep saying, we're not doing a show truck. We're just trying to make it look nice. I'm going to try to do like about 4 videos or so on the truck. And I think this is about where we're going to end it, because I'm going to be going on vacation. And I'm probably not going to get to work on it now for about 2.5 weeks. So I think we'll end it here. I'll put a nice video up on this for you. Progress so far. Hope you get something from it. Maybe you're working on your project truck, you need a little motivation. It takes a lot of patience, very time consuming and laborious. So if you got some free time, you know, even an hour or two a night, instead of watching TV or playing a video game, hope it motivates you to get your project done, get in the garage and get something done. Torque the like button before you head out, if you will, and subscribe if you're new. The day in the shop videos are my primary focus. The project truck's my hobby stuff, and I make content out of it too, because it's something that interests me, and I hope it interests you. Look to see you in another video, I hope, because you're awesome.